Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of the EcoStruxure Automation Expert Training. I'm your host, Leandro Mala, and in this video what we're gonna see is the function blocks, or what we call basic in the software. So let's go to the presentation. Good. So let me just put the pen, and there we go. So the first thing that we're gonna notice here in the EcoStruxure Automation Expert is that the function blocks we use on Machine Expert or Control Expert are quite different, because here the function blocks that we have like a different shape. Okay, there is one side for events and the other side for data. In this IEC standard 61499, the execution of the logic is based on events. Okay, it's not like we have on the controller on the standard M3.4 that we have a cycle and the PLC is reading the inputs, execution the logic, and updating the outputs. Here it works differently, because we can execute the logic that we have inside the function block or the application based on the execution of the events. And based on the execution of the events inputs that we have can also be linked to a different part of the data that is coming into the function block. So it's a different concept of how we're going to work with the function blocks, as we know. So let's start with this generic function block. Okay, just to identify what we have. We have the head and we have the body of this function block. In the top side, on the orange part, we have what we call events, and we have input events and we have output events. On the bottom part, we have the data, which you have data inputs and data outputs. So the idea of these events and data, okay, is to, based on the configuration of the events that we have a ECC, which is the execution control chart, that basically is a diagram and state where we can execute the logic, and we're going to read some of the variables depend on the event that we're going to the event that is going to be executed. Okay, so based on the state on this diagram that we have, we can execute logic, and the logic that we can execute, now we get something familiar, which is the standard, this IEC 61131, which is the one that we use, for example, for the Machine Expert. But here we use a structured test in this case in order to execute the logic. So based on the events that we have, okay, we have like a diagram and state, that this diagram and state will execute logic, okay, in something that we know, which is the 61131, okay, and then we can update the outputs and the data, and then we can execute another function block or whatever. Okay, so this is what is inside this function block. Now we have different function blocks. Okay, we have basic function block, which is the one that I show you. We have service, and we have also the composite. The basic composite is a combination of several function blocks basics. So this is just a theory. I don't want to go into much detail in this part. You have it, you can pause this, read it. It's not my idea to go that deep. So what I want to show you is how we can create a basic function block, okay, and understand the different parts that we have. So we just need to open our application, okay, and select new item, then define the name that we want for this one, and that's okay, and that's it. You have defined it. Now once you define this function block, it gives us a different ways to see the code that we have inside. So let's just create a function block, and then I can show you. So in our solution, we have basic over here, new item, basic, so it's gonna be FB basic 1. Okay, and it creates this. Okay, don't be scared of this one. Here we have some icons. If we don't know what is each icon, we just need to press over here for have more information. Here you can see interface, execution control chart, and algorithms. I explained you before, if you remember the function block, that we have the inputs and outputs for data and events. That basically is that, the interface. We can define the interface of the function block. And then we have the execution control chart, which is the state diagram of the logic that we're going to have inside. And then we have the algorithm that basically on that diagram state diagram that we have, we can execute the algorithm. Okay, so if you go back over here, you can see this in a different way, or at least I try to explain it this way. So this interface will allow me to configure these parts, which are the inputs and outputs for events and data. So this one is going to be events, and this one's going to be data. Okay, data output, data input, event input, and event output. So this is the information that we have, and that is configured on the interface. On the execution control charts, based on the information that we have for the inputs, event inputs, we can navigate in this state diagram state, okay, to execute the logic that we're going to configure on the algorithm. That's why you see this arrow over here. Okay, so basically this is the idea. Now, here, how we can configure the interfaces that we want. Okay, that's very simple. So here you can see, let me just put this over here. So event inputs, here new interface, we can add more. So it's going to be a event number 1, whatever, and you can see how it changed. Okay, but you can also see that there are some events linked to the input. So we can link the taking of the data from the data input that we have based on the event that's going to be linked. So we can link the event with the data. So when the event is triggered, okay, we should be able to see the data. So in order to do that, we just need to go over here, okay, and we should be able to link to some of the data inputs. So imagine that I'm going to have a new value here. It's going to be data number 1. Okay, and if I go over here, we should be able to see what I want to link. And I'm going to link to everything. And you can see here in this part that the event, if number 1, okay, is linked to the QI and data number 1. Okay, the same can also be applied for the outputs part. Okay, so if we don't want to do something like this, we just need to delete, and you can see that is deleted. So here we can define the graphical interface of our function block, okay, our basic function block. We also have socket and plugs, but that is gonna be for later using adapters. So let's continue with the presentation. So that part is done. Now we have this execution control chart. This is the theoretical part at the bottom, but basic is a diagram and state or state machine. Okay, that's the word I wanted to use, state machine. So we start from here, from the start, and depend on the execution on the events input, we execute different algorithm. Okay, so basically that is the idea over here. Okay, so there's some duck flying. So if we go back to software, if we go to here, we can move this, do whatever we want. We can new state, okay, new state, and then we can drag over here and then go back. So instead of using this, we can specify the transition. We don't have this one request, but we can use, for example, this one, if be num1 execution control. So you can see it much better now. Good. So when EBNum is triggered, then I go into this state, and in this state I can add an action, and this action is going to give me, or is going to call, the algorithm that we are going to define. Okay, and this is how you can create your diagram and state. Okay, and if you want, you can add new state and link it this to this one. This is not what I wanted to do. New state, go to this one, and then finish and go to the start again. Okay, so this is how you can work on this part. Then we have the algorithm. The algorithm is going to be the code that we can execute in 61131, okay, which is the language that we know if we were working on Machine Expert using a structured test. This is what we can do. So if we go back here, okay, this is one of the states, and this one are the algorithm. Okay, and you can see how the algorithm is linked to the okay. So now we already have the interface, and we have the execution control chart already almost defined. So if we click in algorithm, we should be able to see the functions that we want to execute, okay, in the language that we know. Okay, so let's try to do this. This is just a calculation. Okay, we have two inputs and we're gonna get one result, so this one's gonna be easy. So I'm going to close this one. Yeah, so save it, no problem. So this one's gonna be FP calculation, I believe. Put it. So I'm going to delete this part, going to call this one as let's see what I have to use. EB calc, oh, okay, event calc. I don't remember why I had put that, but okay. And this one is going to be EB calc out. Now I know. We have the calculation input and output, something simple. So here I'm going to use a real variable. So this one is going to be var01. I'm going to create another variable var02, and it's going to be real. Why real? Because I want it to be real. So here we can navigate to select the variable or just type it in. As you can see over here, the rvar2 is not linked. So if it's not linked, it's not going to work. So if I'm not wrong, I can drag this and link it over here. Instead of using this, I can drag and drop it. Okay, and here I'm going to use our result, and you're going to have a real. Okay, so what you can see, the evil calculate is linked to the two variables, and then the output is also linked to the result. So I can do this together. Now, we just need to go or prepare the diagram state. In this case, when the event is launched, okay, we just need to create a calculation. So here it's going to be the state of calculation. So in order to move over here, what I need is the EB calc in, okay, to be activated. And then we just go here. So when this one is activated, what I need to do is to create an action. And here we can select the two existing algorithms, okay, or create a new one. In my case, it's going to be called a add, the action add. I'm going to add variable 1 with variable 2. And okay. And I added a new, or I created a new algorithm, but now I need to add it. Here I need to specify, okay, this one is going to be result, or we're going to see the result of the calculation using this one, dbcalc out, which is the output over here. Okay, now what I need to do, I'm going to delete this one. The need is not needed. I'm going to delete this one because it's not needed, but this one I'm going to keep it. So what I'm going to do, I believe I need to do it in this now. Okay, here. So I got the r bar 2 plus r bar 02. This one, okay, r bar, no, r result. Okay, and we have the result. So let me just double check just to see if I do it right. This part, haven't missed this. Have missed this part. Okay, so basically I'm adding this value to this value to this, adding to this variable this value and this value, but it's only be executed when I indicate it's going to be executed. If we use this in a standard PLC, okay, it will do it automatically, okay, because it's a cycle scan, and here is based on events. So this is done. So here what we need to do is to save this, so we'll save the application. Now, as soon as we are in this function block, what we can do is to test, and this debug will be up here. So let me just continue with this because I believe I explained this part. We already done this part, okay, and now that we have already finished with this, we should be able to see this debug. This debug will help us to see if our basic function block is working. So we just need to run it and see if it works. So just bear with me. Good. So debug, run, and you'll be able to see this. So I have the function block over here. Let me just minimize this part. So you can see I'm going to enter some values, 12 and 45.6. As you can see, the result is 0 because I haven't executed this part. But as soon as I enter this, I see the result. Okay. I change it, but it doesn't change. I change it again. It doesn't change, but it will change when I click on the event because it's everything about the events over here. Okay. And if you have more states over here, you should be able to see the actual state of this. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. Now, we have already done our first function block. As you can see, it's easy once you understand the concept behind events and data and the execution of each data and the different parts. Interface, the states of the machine, and then the algorithms. Now, we already, one of my colleagues have done some of the function blocks in order to control this sorting line. So we just need to import them. So in order to import an external basic function block, what we need to do is to go back to our solution, and in the solution, just select import. We just need to add these libraries. Okay. Once it's added, you should be able to see this, just to really see the variable, not the variables, but the name of the function blocks. And then you should be able to see that on the basic part. So these are the function blocks that we need to add. Okay, we are not going to directly work on this part because the idea is to later import some cuts that will help us to easily add all the information together. Okay, so if we go back to here, okay, in basic, what we need to do is to select import. Okay, and here we just need to find the library. Just bear with me a second till I find this part. Getting started, additional information over here. So here you can see that we have these three, and we just need to add it. Okay, probably you're going to have a newer version of what I have. Okay, but this is the process to add a new library. You can see here you have these three function blocks. We can add it over here, and if you want, we can see what is inside. And you can check over here that we have states and we have different algorithms. This is the sequence. Here you can see this. You can see the states, and you can see this is what I meant. Depending on the state that we have different execution. So this is important to understand the different concepts of having the interface, the state machine, and then also the algorithms. And you can see over here we have difference. Okay, so this is how we can work with the basic function blocks, which is the minimal amount of information that we have. Think about the atoms, that we have the atom as a minimal, and then we can program everything over there. Okay, the interface, the sequence of the state diagram, state machine that we want, and then the algorithms. Okay, then later we're going to see how we can combine these function blocks to create a composite. So this is it for the basic function block. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I see you on the next one.